What's up everybody? September is officially off to a great start. Last night we had the Apple event coming out with the iPhone 15. Is it worth upgrading to? That's what we're going to be looking at today from a photographer and filmmaker's point of view. Let's discuss and see if it's worth the upgrade. So first off, my thoughts on the event itself. I think it was really a lackluster event. I don't think it was something that would blow my mind. It takes me back to the event or the iPhone 12. That was one of my best events. The production, the hype, everything just felt much more grandeur as opposed to what we had last night. It felt like we were just going through the paces. They came on, introduced the Watch Series 9, the Ultra 2, and then the iPhone 15. And most of it was really not something new, something that would make you jump out of your feet to say, okay, that is something I would want to spend my money on. It was just a few things here, and I think that is where the word pro comes in, and we're going to be looking at it a little bit later in the video. Firstly, I want to provide some context for this video so that later on in the video you understand where we're coming from. So for context, I'm a photographer, I'm a filmmaker, I make content using cameras, so that is basically what I do. And one of the things about cameras is that it's a great investment in terms of the money you're going to have to put in. You're going to have to spend and invest quite a bit of money to get things like 4K at 60 frames per second. You're looking at getting a camera like the Canon EOS R, and to get that camera with a lens which would cover probably 24 to 105, that would cost you about $2,500, even without putting in the tax that you'd have to pay to bring it to a country like Uganda. And that is where the smartphone industry comes in. That is where companies like Apple come in. When you look at the iPhone 15, they talked about it having up to about 7 lenses in terms of where it can shoot at maximum capability, all the way from 30 millimeters up to 120 millimeters. Now, if you want to get lenses that cover that range for DSLR or a mirrorless camera, you're going to spend a bit of money, and that is why I feel like a tool like an iPhone is such an important thing that we must look forward to. It may not necessarily take away from owning an R6, owning an R5, but it is a stepping stone for so many content creators. We live in an economy where so many of us are making a livelihood of our content. So to have a tool that not only can do the camera work but can also do the other side of the work, keeping your tabs, your calendar, without having to invest only in the camera side, is very important. And it's why these events are always things we look forward to, even though they may not necessarily wow you with new things. There are those things for especially content creators, filmmakers, and photographers that we must be looking forward to. It also pushes companies like Nikon, like Canon, like Sony to keep innovating. For a while we were stagnant in the camera world where the camera companies thought they were untouchable, but when you see a company like Apple coming out with computational photography, with things like next generation portraits, it makes the companies like Canon start to think, how best can we also implement AI or technology to improve our equipment. So now that that is out of the way, let's talk cameras. We're not going to be looking mainly at the iPhone 15 because I don't feel like if you're a pro level photographer you would get the iPhone 15 because there's so many features, especially the new ones, that are not there. What Apple usually tends to do with the iPhone 15 is bring what they had in the iPhone 14 Pro versions and bring it down to the iPhone 15 versions. So things that were there in last year's model you'll find in the iPhone 15. So if you're looking for the new technology, you're gonna have to go Pro. Like I said, the iPhone 15 has an array of lenses all the way from 13mm to 120mm in terms of range. So you have quite a wide range there, and we're going to be looking at the main camera first, which is a 48 megapixel camera. The one thing that really stood out for me is the adjustable focus after the fact. That means when you take a photo and probably you did not set it in portrait mode, you're able to do that in post or in editing. You're able to select the place you want in focus and it will adjust. The night photography seems to have improved, better light situation, because now the camera shoots at f2.8, which is very good aperture for night photography. The photos look decent. Like again, whenever you have these companies coming out on their keynotes, they've had the best situations to bring out the best photos, so the photos really look decent. So you may not necessarily get the same results because the way they've prepared for their sets is different. So it's always best to try this out for yourselves. But from what we can see, the night photography has taken another leap forward, and that is something very important for us. the 120mm, which is the 5x telephoto lens, is only available in the max version. You're not going to get it in the 15 Pro, you're going to get it in the max version. And they've done something they call a tetra prism, meaning that they are able to bring that long, because usually the 120mm lenses are long, but they've used some science there to create what they call a tetra prism to bounce light in such a short distance, yet making it long enough to replicate or to create that feel of a 128mm lens. Now when it comes to the video side of the Pro versions of the iPhone, this is where I was really excited to see a few new things that came out. The use of the Type-C. We all know that famously Apple have been forced to shift from Lightning to USB Type-C because of restrictions in Europe, and all iPhones now are Type-C. But one thing they've also been able to use that for is to allow a filmmaker to shoot directly to SSD, meaning you're able to shoot 4K 60 ProRes, meaning because the ProRes is quite heavy files and shooting directly on the phone may not be enough, so you need external storage. So you're able to shoot directly onto your external storage, which means you're going to have a faster workflow, but you're also going to have additional space to get those big files. The other thing I was really excited for, and I think that was the best thing for me, was the log, being able to shoot in log. As a filmmaker, you know that shooting in log is very important for color grading, for adding visual effects. To stretch your footage, you need to shoot in log. You're not able to do that when you're shooting normally, and that is where iPhone stands out from the rest. Phones like the Samsung, they will have the 8K, but the ability to shoot log is not there, and you will shoot your 8K, but to play around with your colors may not be as good as with the iPhone. And that is why the iPhone camera has really stood out over all these years. They may not have the big numbers, the 8K and all that, but their intuition and the use of these features is what makes their cameras pro level and usually better than the rest. The addition of log also means that the iPhone qualifies for the ACES, which is the Academy standard for color grading. That is very important for people who are interested in making short films to that level. And I think that is one thing that I've seen on the rise in Uganda, people making short films. So I think having equipment like the iPhone, which is ready to go, easy to set up, and if you couple it with things like rigs from Moment, you're able to create simple filmmaking gear that will enable you to shoot and create content quicker than having to maybe say buy an R5 or hire an R5 for a whole short film. Apple may not have blown us away this time around. They may not have done something so unique for you to upgrade from the iPhone 15, but I believe for photographers, for filmmakers, it's always good to look and be keen to see what they are doing with software, because remember, the thing that sets our cameras apart, the Canons and the Sonys of this world, is the ability to capture a lot of light. The sensors on these cameras are huge, and phones are not able to have those sensors because of size. But what they've been able to do with software is really impressive, and it always impresses me to see the things that they do year in, year out. So the few things that they've added, they are really important. They are small, and for a large audience of people, it may not count for sense, or it may not be worth the upgrade. But for filmmakers, for the pro level creators, I believe the iPhone 15 is worth the step up. That investment is worth it if you are a pro level creator. But if it's not something you're gonna really use, if you're not gonna use the log profiles, if you're not going to use the spatial video, if you're not going to take advantage of those features, I don't think the iPhone 15 is really different from the iPhone 14 for you. So you may probably want to skip this round and wait for the iPhone 16 and see what they have there. But if you skip the iPhone 14 and you're still on the iPhone 13, I think the iPhone 15 is a worthy upgrade. So those are my thoughts and my thinking behind the iPhone 15 and what it means for photographers and filmmakers. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about the event. Was it worthwhile? Is it worth upgrading from what you have? Or do you think it provides competition for the Samsung S23s of this world that shoot 8K, like my friend Norbert always says? So yeah, let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Hopefully I'll see you very soon. Peace.